Ms. Paul also did not leave any doubt that the Green Party of Canada is in turmoil. She said there's literally a struggle for the soul of her party, her words. So where does that leave the Greens? We asked for an interview with Annamie Paul. She was unavailable. So was the former leader of that party, Elizabeth May. But joining us now is Victoria Galea. She's Annamie Paul's executive assistant and just ran as a Green Party candidate for Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a difficult day. Your reaction to Annamie Paul's resignation and her characterization that the Green Party campaign was literally undermined from within.
Thank you for having me on, Evan. The party absolutely undermined this campaign at every step, both the local Toronto Centre campaign and the national campaign. It's very hard to have a campaign when all of your staff has been laid off for weeks approaching the election. You don't have a national campaign manager, and the party provided you with zero funding in order to have a campaign. So undermining is almost an understatement.
Okay, when did this start? Sources have told me that the party was actually in reasonably good shape. Just so people understand, there is something called a voter rebate. So parties that get more than 2.5%, the Greens got 6.5% in 2019, they actually can get a bank loan. I understand from sources that for this election, the Green Party had $1.3 million in a bank loan to fund it. So were the resources not available? What happened to hamper Annamie Paul and the planning of this campaign?
Absolutely. I'd say that the envelopes were heavily stipend and not given out ahead of time with the guise of we don't know when the election will officially be called, which everyone in the political realm knew it was going to happen before September, with sources everywhere telling us that that was the case, especially leading off of the other provincial election right into our election. I think that the party did not want to provide us with the money in order to stipend our success. There's absolutely no reason for them to lay off half of our staff leading into election, including the entire leader's office. We out fundraised every single quarter, including the month of June when Jenica left over the year before. And so it was not a money inflow issue, it was a money mismanagement issue.
So why was she being undermined? Like, what is at the root of this? She was elected as a new leader. She performed very well, by all accounts, in the debate. She's an accomplished lawyer, an accomplished diplomat. Who was undermining her and why?
Absolutely, the previous federal council at every turn took each opportunity to undermine her. I think that throwing things like votes of non-confidence, talking about reviewing her leadership, her membership as a leader, and there's so many turns that every day we were waking up to a new issue, and every day it was becoming a joke. Like, it can't get worse than it is now, but yet every day it did. And so I think
what triggered it, Victoria? And I've heard that, Ms. Paul has said that, and you've said that they were undermined by council. There's been lots of leaked stories. But why? Like, what precipitated the fact that council was turning on Annamie Paul? Like, what precipitated this? Why were they doing this, in your view?
It's hard to tell the exact moment that it occurred when, from day one, the federal council did not seek to have Annamie Paul's success. No matter which leader turned out that election win back on October 3rd, the first questions were about, is she going to fire our previous executive director the next day? So the federal council has never set her up for success. But I would say the instance, of course, of Jenica leaving did act as a catalyst for these issues. I absolutely think we still would have ended up here. All roads led to this path when you're not supported in your own party, even though you were democratically elected to be the leader.
Did Elizabeth May support her?
I think that there were instances where we could have seen more support and it was lacking. And I think that that silence has been deafening over the months. And there definitely could have been more room cleared from the outgoing leader for our new leader to have growth and success in this election.
She is the leader, though. I mean, she lost Jenica Atwin, the only elected leader, member, of course, in Fredericton. We've heard that she didn't talk very much to Elizabeth May. Elizabeth May told us on air that she hadn't talked to her in months. Paul Manley said she didn't have a lot of contact. Jenica Atwin told me that Annamie Paul didn't talk to her. Does she bear any responsibility for not communicating with her caucus, not building support, not doing the job of a leader?
I think that there's some misrepresentation about a lot of those situations. The single time that Jenica's team, as far as I know, did reach out to Madame Paul to have that phone call was the same day Madame Paul found out at the horrendous tweets that Jenica did tweet against Annamie. And I think that she did not want to speak to her out of anger and upset, and said that very clearly. I would like to speak with you, but today I'm not okay with doing that, and let's connect later. And our office repeatedly reached out to Jenica's office in the weeks following and did not receive any response.
But you wonder if that was too late. Annamie Paul said today there's a struggle for the soul of the Green Party. What is the struggle for the soul of the Green Party?
I think we're at a crossroads from the intersectionality we face in reality of the climate crisis and in things like environmental racism and social justice, and the actual will and action to do so. When the party is being led in all areas, essentially, other than by the leader they disowned by white people, it's hard to show that we are also a social justice party. And so for that soul and will and power to move forward as a progressive party and be seen as the option for the left, it is a fight for the soul of the party.
Was racism an issue for Annamie Paul?
Absolutely.
Are there members of the party? Are you because she said she was attacked from within, that race was an issue. Were there basically people, are you saying that there are people who were racist inside the Green Party and used that to undermine Annamie Paul?
Yes, I think absolutely that occurred. And I think that it's not just an opinion at this point. When Ombuds, a third-party entity, reviews internal emails and discussions and says that point blank racist allegations were made unfounded and defamatory against the leader of your party, and these federal councils should resign, and that did not proceed to do so for months at a time, that's a direct racist act, let alone the microaggressions of not hiring new equity, diversity, inclusion candidates, seeking out new candidates, having funding for these things, let alone firing our equity, diversity, inclusion director, Zara. So there were micro and macro aggressions that took place of racism in the party.
Finally, in politics, leaders take accountability. Does Annamie Paul accept any responsibility for the fact that the Green vote went from 6.5% to 2.3%? It was a disastrous campaign. I know there's lots, clearly she says there's a lot of internal issues. I get that. What responsibility as the leader does she bear?
I think that no politician is perfect, and we all work to strive from our mistakes, but I think absolutely all roads led to this result. At every turn, Annamie, it's a grassroots party. Annamie is a single voice on our federal council. A single representative sits on her behalf on the campaign working group. No national campaign manager was assigned, and no money was spent on Toronto Centre or the national campaign. And so I think to say that this is entirely her fault is completely inaccurate. And I think that no matter how many adjustments she could have made or tweaked her communication skills or whichever you'd like to point to, we still would be in this situation.
Did she know that she was going to lose Toronto Centre in fourth place before the campaign night? Did you guys have internal polling saying we're not going to even be able to win our own riding?
Personally, I never saw the internal polling, but I think that we're getting close to the feeling from the ground. People want to support us. It was a minority election where people were scared of a liberal or conservative minority, and strategic voting definitely played a role. And so it wasn't a clear outcome, but I think we were accepting that point.
Victoria Galea, I really appreciate you taking the time and speaking about that, someone who worked very closely with Annamie Paul and who ran as well as a Green Party candidate. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.